Hello, this is Shannon again for Theatricide. This is my second post. My last post was on Sons of the Prophet, a contemporary American play that was a runner-up for the Pulitzer Prize in 2011. Um, for this installment, I'm going to kind of step back a little further, just a few years to 2005, play by Neil LaBute entitled This Is How It Goes. Neil LaBute's really interesting because when he burst upon the scene in the late 90s, I really saw him as this amazing force that worked both in theater in and film, particularly works like Nurse Betty and Possession. But when it came to films, he hit a spot when he did the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, and from there, I'm really not quite sure if his film work has returned to its previous quality. I haven't seen Lakeview Terrace, so I can't really speak, but I do find some interesting connections between some of the reviews I read of Lakeview Terrace and This Is How It Goes, namely the issue of race and ethnicity. This Is How It Goes is a three-character play, a man, a woman, and a character named Cody. I thought it was really interesting. The original cast had Ben Stiller as the man, Amanda Peet as the woman, and Jeffrey Wright, personally one of my favorite actors, as the character Cody. Um, the play itself is really interesting in the sense that we have a very unreliable narrator. And the setup is this. There's a man who went to high school with a woman named Belinda and her now husband, Cody. This man, who serves as the narrator of the play, in high school was kind of out of shape and picked upon and so forth. But he really had a crush on a woman named Belinda, and Belinda was this cheerleader, popular girl in the high school. Um, Also in high school, our narrator, the man, was occasionally in a PE class with the character named Cody. And Cody is African American. From what we understand, he's one of just the few African Americans in this small Midwestern town. And he also, he's had some issues at home. His mother has disappeared and kind of comes back. His father raised him. Um, Through these various conversations, we start learning that the man had a serious crush on the woman and would like to rekindle that, even though this is probably about 15 or 20 years kind of after they went to high school. Um, so the man runs into this woman, Belinda, and they start kind of meeting each other. We're not really quite sure if it's an affair. It's definitely an affair. They heart, if not a sexual affair. And the man decides that he's going to move into the garage apartment owned by Belinda and Cody. So we have this kind of nice threesome here that leads to all kinds of conflict. The first conflict that we get is the man and the woman, Belinda and Cody, go out to dinner, and we start getting a sense that the man not only resents Cody, because Cody was quite popular in high school and was this fantastic track runner, um, but the man himself probably is racist. He says some very, and I say probably because as the play goes along, we start seeing that maybe this is some sort of provocation, a way to really try to get at Cody. But then the play goes on further, and we start realizing that this is not just a provocation, that this truly is who our narrator is. So the man moves in to the garage apartment next to Belinda and Cody, and more conflict erupts, specifically at a barbecue when our narrator confesses to having a racial confrontation with a coworker, and that's explains that that's why he is no longer a lawyer and so forth. Um, as the play goes on, we get some really interesting references to elements such as, especially kind of elements tied to masculine codes, particularly baseball cards, the trading of baseball cards, and we learn that Cody and the man may or may not have conspired when they were in high school. Through the trading of baseball cards for Cody actually to cheat on Belinda, his girlfriend at the time. Um, I keep kind of underscoring all of this with kind of we may or we may not, and that's part of the problem with this play, not in the negative sense, but kind of what makes it such a challenge is that we have a narrator who's incredibly unreliable, and he tells you that all the time. So we will see a scene enacted, and then we'll see the scene reenacted, and throughout the narrator is saying, well, maybe this is how it went, maybe this is not how it went. As the title of the play says, this is how it goes. And I think it's interesting and provocative in that sense because it really plays with our assumptions when it comes to particularly African American men. And it, I mean, it's an interesting issue and it's dealt with in a very, kind of fascinating way. It's a it's a satisfying work, and it's one that comes back to haunt me, even though I just read it probably I just finished it about an hour ago. I've really been kicking it around um, because it does ask of a great amount from its performers. There's a great deal of vitriolic language, as you would expect from a Neil LaBute play. There's a great deal of conflict. There's a great deal of kind of power plays. And I think it's interesting that, we get nods to, say, Othello and also Strangers on a Train, Hitchcock's film. And we see those elements kind of thrown together in this interesting brew. But what's fascinating, I think, about the actual composition of the play is that our narrator is has left the law profession, probably probably kicked out because of his his racism, and he's become a playwright, and he confesses that that this is the play that he's working on. So we get these really interesting stage directions. So it's almost like the meat, so much of the meat of the play is actually in the stage directions themselves, because that's another narrative strain, because it's not a simple direction or description. It's actually kind of commentary on what's going on with the dynamics between, say, the spectators and the performance that's going on, and also the dynamics of the actors. For example, one of the first stage directions says, "A man walks on stage. Give him a little light. There, that's better. Now what? Wait, I think he's going to say something. Yes, he is. Good." Another scene, they talk about how a character needs a weed whacker, and the stage directions essentially say that this is the props department problem. I'm not quite sure exactly how we're going to do it. Um, he also says, in one scene when Cody leaves, says Cody exits. The room is now empty, but the woman Belinda is still behind the piece of furniture. After a moment, the man enters the room. What's he doing here again? So it's almost as if the playwright himself, this character, the man, is really questioning how these characters behave within this world that he's created. Um, After a blow up between Belinda and Cody, the stage directions say this, and with that, Cody is gone. The woman sits for a moment, taking all this in. A long moment. Then she starts to cry. Not a lot. That's hard on an actor, and we've got a ways to go, but a little. Just enough. So I would propose that if this were performed, that it would be so important to have someone reading these stage directions, because it's absolutely fascinating commentary on what's going on. Um, and the playwright, perhaps LaBute or the character, really surprises himself as well in some parts, because here's one stage direction says, "The man backs away a little. I never really noticed it, but maybe Cody is right about him. The man sits at the table." So it's almost like the writer is making discoveries as this play is being created. But it being a LaBute play and being kind of in that incendiary drama of masculine codes and explorations of gender, and in this of race and ethnicity, there's some very awkward and uncomfortable moments that certainly would be challenging for any performer. Um, but other than that, I mean, it's a fascinating read and definitely one that will stick with me. I think that the politics of the play probably are problematic in many, many ways. And I think that's part of the provocative nature of it, and that it is to provoke conversations. Um, so I mean, it's recommended. I would love to see it in performance, especially with Jeffrey Wright as Cody, because Jeffrey Wright has so many different textures and layers and kind of what he brings to these characters and inner lives. And I think that that would just be pivotal, like in any production of this character of Cody. So anyhow, the play is This Is How It Goes. Definitely check it out. It's one that I'll think about reading again actually, as we move forward. All right, till next time.